David Samuels. David friggin' Samuels is here for the third time on Frankie Say. David, occasionally I will look at the guest and I will very rarely say, you are one of my favorite guests. You have been, so here's a non-opinionated thing. You've been here, this is your third time, and there's a reason why you're here today.
Fantastic.
So this pod, for any of you listening right now, we are going to get through a real quick bourbon chocolate segment that's going to last a minute or two, because we're going to talk about this, because David was nice enough to bring something. What is your title at Quincy Community Theater?
I'm the president of the board of the Quincy Community Theater right now. I'm outgoing, right? So I'm going to be terming out at the end of this year, and and we'll have a new leadership starting in January.
Do you care to share who the new leadership is, or is that under wraps?
It hasn't been voted on yet. So
okay,
we don't know yet.
Okay, all right. Well, I saw was it Matilda? Is that what I saw last year? Yeah, that was fantastic. I think I already gave you like a ton of compliments on that already. I was so impressed. My kids still talk about it. Okay. I don't think I'm not taking my kids to enough of your productions. You guys do very good work. We're very lucky to have a person like you. Now where we're going to go is the rest of this pod. When we get into we're going to talk about the election results, and we're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. This pod is dedicated to 95% talking about the election of 2024 and the results. The election was last night. So if you're listening to this pod, it's either Thursday or Friday, whenever the Wizard of Bob posts it. And what'd you say, Bob? Thursday. So there. So anyway, so this is the day after the election. And the reason why you were carefully selected, David, is because I told you this in a text, and I meant it this morning when I woke up. I said there's no better person than I would want to have sitting across from me talking about these things, because you are so measured and so quick on your feet, and you're just like I like talking to you all the time, and not even just in pods.
Well, thank you.
So yeah, I mean, you're a special person, and I thank you for coming on.
Appreciate
you brought a bourbon, but it's not a bourbon. What'd you bring?
So available at the liquor booth, not a plug, but I guess a plug, is the Jack Daniel's single barrel proof. I got, this is basically, it's not a bourbon, but they do everything required to be called a bourbon. And it's out of Tennessee, Lynchburg, Tennessee, and they specially select single barrels. And this is a little over 130 proof, and whenever I taste it, I just think like banana bread. I think there's a lot of sweet baking aromas that I just think are incredible. Wow. And then I have 100% chocolate there for you.
Okay.
So it's very, very bitter. And it's going to like dry out your mouth, and that's okay. That's okay. Let it happen. Feel it.
I've never had bourbon, or not bourbon, Jack. The best Jack Daniels in the world, plus 100% chocolate.
Not yet. Coy Hill. Coy Hill's a special spot at Jack Daniels.
I'm going to need some water.
Yeah, potentially. But I would say the key is you have to drink the bourbon, and you get more of the sweetness after having the bitterness of the chocolate.
Well, I hope this. So I told you that my wife, Rachel, is a huge bourbon fan and non-bourbon fan of what you've got here. And I told you in the green room that why I generally can't drink bourbon. This is beating the crap out of me. I know I know the quality's good, and I know that it's super good, but it's beating me up right now. So I'm going to have to be very judicious.
Yeah. Well, spend more time smelling it than tasting it. It might be hit you the first.
Yeah. Let me do banana bread. You're not kidding. Well done. So, okay. So it is, it's almost 4 p.m. the day after the election. And I don't know, the last time I looked a few hours ago, they had not called Arizona or Nevada or Michigan or Alaska. But DJT, the former president, looks like he may be president again.
Yeah.
But maybe not. Maybe not. They may try to kill him. So we got to be on the lookout for more assassinations. Do you think I'm joking about that? I'm not joking. I mean, if I told you a long time ago, listen, they're going to try to kill him. Like, I'm a redneck from Kentucky, and I'm telling you, they're going to try to kill him. And then like somebody would say, Frank, relax, man. They're not. Who's they? No one's going to try to kill anybody. Relax. Put down your rifle, and your nonsense. But I'm serious. I think they're going to – I don't think do you know who Jamie Raskin is?
I do know who Jamie Raskin is.
Did you hear what he said about how they don't want to certify the election?
They're going to do everything in their power to prevent him from taking the presidency.
What is that called? What is that called when somebody gets elected in an election and then they do everything that they can to make sure that he doesn't set foot after they've been duly elected?
Well, to be clear, future President-elect Trump has not been duly elected. We're going to have the Electoral College has to come together, and then that becomes eventually certified on, usually it's January 6th.
Yeah, J6.
And then the president would not be sworn in until 2 weeks after that's been certified. So there is intentionally put another 2 months of time before then. That obviously I think any person that is president-elect is going to be potentially targeted as an assassination just because of the position and who that is, and regardless of the individual. But obviously, I think Donald Trump has been targeted many times, and that I would first and foremost say political violence is never okay, and that's not okay. And I would follow up and say, who is they that are trying to kill him? Well, I don't think Jamie Raskin is going to be arming himself, right?
What's so interesting is who is they? I mean, they never know. We never know. We just know names. Like the second person who tried to kill him, I don't think he fired off a shot. I don't think the second assassin actually fired off a shot, but that guy was definitely a super crazy person that had deep ties to Ukraine. The first guy that actually got off a shot. I mean, these people, when they go back to go find these assassins in their homes and things like that, they have no silverware. The place is scrubbed clean. They've got they've got no social media footprint, zero. All their email addresses are locked down. So it's that it reminds me of it kind of gives me the feeling. Do you know who Dmitry Medvedev is?
Is he
he's the former Russian president.
Yeah.
Remember that guy?
Yeah.
He gave out a very stern warning to generally to President Trump. So ironically, I can call him President Trump because he was the president and he probably is going to be the president if they don't shoot him in the head. He said things like, he gave the warning. He goes, Donald Trump, you have to be very, very careful now. If you do get elected, they are going to. This is what Medvedev said. He goes, "You got to be very careful. They are going to come after you in a JFK style situation. JFK, for whatever reason, this is post Eisenhower's outgoing message to the Union talking about the military-industrial complex, which Donald Trump does not seem to be a fan of. He doesn't really like to play ball necessarily with all of that." And that's look what happened to Boeing stock today. The entire Dow Jones and the Nasdaq, the S&P rips up. The Dow futures ripped up 1,200 points this morning when I woke up at 6 a.m. The Dow futures ripped up 1,200, up 1,200, up 300 is a big day. Up 1,200 is insanity. The entire stock market went up. Everything moved up. The dollar got stronger. Gold sold off. Oil sold off. You know what happened to Boeing stock? It went down. It went down. You know why? Because the United States of America just sent a message to everybody that says that the new leader doesn't want to play ball and is not a neocon and doesn't want these wars and may try to stop the war. And Medvedev said, and where's Aspen Gengabacher when you need her for fact checking? Where he said, be very careful, because if you try to stop the war in Ukraine, if you try to stop it, they're going to try to kill you.
Implying the Russians.
No.
Oh.
No.
Who?
No. Medvedev, in his either speech, I'm reading transcripts, and I can't remember if he actually said this or he wrote this. You got to fact check everything these days. You guys don't take my word for it. These are things that I'm reading from multiple sources. I want you to think I'm just not shooting from the hip here. he's essentially saying that Russia would like an end to the war, and Russia has asked for an end to the war, and people like in the Biden-Harris administration will not come to the negotiation table. And that's because they want war, because they want Boeing stock to go up. But then you elect the Don, then all of a sudden the chances of like war come screaming down. Thus, the money lines start going down. This is, I'm injecting a little bit of my theory onto actual real world events.
Okay.
But where am I going wrong here?
Well, first and foremost, you should never look for the market to respond to political activities that quickly.
Should not look to it?
Should not. Because the day before it dropped dramatically, the 2 days prior, the Dow dropped significantly.
But why?
Why?
How much did it sell off the day before?
It was pretty big. What I would say is like the ups and downs of the market have less to do with political activities than people try to give it credit for.
Ooh, okay. As a former trader, I will tell you that fundamental trading is based explicitly on current events and what they think will happen and and generally trying to predict the future.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question then.
Yeah.
What is the role of an independent Federal Reserve?
Oh. Okay. So the independent Federal Reserve is a private institution. The president can't appoint the Fed chair.
Correct.
And the current Fed chair is Jerome Powell.
Correct.
And he's the chair of the FOMC.
Yep.
You're asking what the role is?
Yeah.
To establish monetary policy.
Yep. Okay. So Donald Trump says he should have influence on the federal funds rate, the FOMC federal funds rate, right?
Every president wants control over that. Yeah.
Well, but few have requested direct.
And he's not going to get it. What he's going to do is he'll just fire Jerome Powell.
Which would also, and then probably appoint a lackey, which makes him de facto, like he would have control over that. So if we don't have an independent, central bank, which that's what the Federal Reserve is, then that will do more damage to the dollar as the overall currency than anything else.
So this what a nice entree into eradicating the Fed, which is a 3-letter agency, if you don't mind.
U.S. Federal Reserve is not a 3-letter agency.
Fed, FED. There is this idea, which, by the way, this is a part where I tend to kind of, which, by the way, I agree with you on tons of things. I had Kate Daniels on in the last pod. She was fantastic, and she was always kind of trying to get me to agree with her, and I agreed with her on a ton of stuff. Mm-hmm. I agree with you on even more things. I feel like I'm kind of like an 80-20 guy with you. Like 80% of what you say is like spot on, and the other 20% is still also very smart.
Well, what happens
where you're going here? Where you're going here is you are walking into a door with me where I tend to agree with you on this. I tend to agree because I will tell you right now, as somebody who doesn't believe that the executive branch should have too much control over the Fed, I like the Fed that it acts as an independent org. But I'll tell you, all presidents have the ability to fire the FOMC chair and hire new ones. Mm-hmm. They have that ability. And all presidents would prefer lower interest rates, free money, and Trump is no exception. Trump is like, what he wants to do is a part of him wants to end the Fed. Have you heard of the political philosophy of ending the Fed?
I think it's super dangerous. I think anytime that someone has a direct influence over a central bank, we see this time and time again in history, whether it's Venezuela or any other central bank, if they don't have independence, because the idea is that a central bank should operate with independence, and the traditional example is the like punch bowl at a party, right? Having alcohol in the punch bowl at the party is you want to have a low enough rate that people can have success in the economy. But if you just lower the rate to zero all the time, people will get drunk, and then that's when inflation will come up. So you're balancing inflation and maximum unemployment. Unemployment is really employment, excuse me. So really what it is like a president in a short-term perspective will always prefer to have maximum employment. And, I'll be damned if there's not, there's going to be inflation if that happens. So I think the danger is if Trump says I should have direct influence over the federal funds rate, then we ruin the entire independence of the Fed, and overall global economy will be looking for alternatives and remove kind of value from the dollar and shift it over to potentially the euro or a BRICS monetary unit, or potentially a Bitcoin like you'd be interested in. So
they definitely They definitely wouldn't switch to a Bitcoin because Bitcoin isn't smart money. It's hard money, but it's just not smart. It's actually so can I further agree with you on this? Because I'm going to be kind of simpatico with you on this. One of the things that if Trump does indeed want to set the Fed funds discount rate, I would be against that.
Okay.
I would be against that.
How many of the folks in his supporters MAGA would also agree with you in the sense where he should not have influence on the federal funds rate?
Most of them would agree.
Okay.
Most of them. Vivek would agree, which, by the way, Trump's team, say whatever you want about Trump, his team, he put together an all-star business, entrepreneurial, self-made organization. The ensemble that he put together, unbelievable.
Mike Pence?
No, he didn't put together Pence. Pence isn't in there.
John Bolton
isn't in there. Why are you naming
Mike Flynn? These are all members of his team.
Why are you dead naming people? None of those people are on his team.
That's not dead naming first and foremost, but these people used to be part of the Trump team, and for some reason they're not. Why are they no longer part of the Trump team?
Hold on a second. I am postulating that when you're saying that they're members of his team, I'm saying they are not.
Oh, okay.
They're not. None of those people that you mentioned are on his team.
Who was vice president from 2017 to 2021?
I mean, you want to talk about Dan Quayle? About the two worst vice presidents of all time, Dan Quayle and Kamala? If you want to go into the past about all the mistakes that Trump made, he made so many mistakes. He was new to Washington, D.C.
I'm just confused.
Well, let me help you.
Okay.
None of the people that you said are on his team. I'm talking about his team right now.
Okay.
It's guys like Vivek.
For now or right now?
Well, if he fires everybody, then they won't be on his team anymore.
Okay.
But I get what you're doing. It's cute, but all of the people on his team, he can fire J.D. Vance if he wants. He can fire Vivek. He can fire Elon. He can fire Tulsi. By the way, I keep on talking about, there's a lot of Democrats turned Republicans in this mix. But these guys, back to what you're talking about, of the people on his team that would be for Trump setting monetary policy with regard to federal funds discount rates, they would be against them. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
The people that the aforementions of, like Tulsi and Elon and all of these people, they're scared to death of a digital bank, a central bank digital currency, a CBDC. They're scared to death of those things. Ironically, both the machine and Trump in this one aspect. So Trump was sent by somebody. All these rednecks talking about Trump's here by God. Trump saved his life. He turned his head at the perfect time because he's ordained by God and he's here put by God. I mean, I'm making fun of them. They might be right, but what Trump wants to do is break the machine. But if he wants to end the Fed and become the dictator of Fed policy, I would say that would be bad.
What about if it's just for one day?
1 day is fine.
1 day is fine. He can end the Fed for 1 day.
He can end the Fed for 1 day, but the next day you got to put the Fed back in. You're talking about being dictator for 1 day. Yeah, let him be dictator for 1 day. You know what? The machine is dictator every single day. So I don't care if Trump wants to be dictator for one stupid 24-hour day. I do not care.
So if it's a dictator, though, that's one central leader, right? So how can it be? How can there be a machine, which is the name of what, the University of Alabama sorority, the Greek system is the machine?
Well, I'm not sure where you're going.
Okay.
You are talking. Don't fall into the Trump of what Trump says all the time. You got to look at what Trump does.
Don't listen to what Trump says.
You can't listen to every single thing. You can't listen to every single thing Trump says. Which, by the way, you never want to get into a situation where you listen to every single thing a politician says and think that they're going to do it, because you will always be disappointed. Always.
That's true.
So, real quick on the central, I don't want to lose the crowd on central bank digital currencies, but I will tell you this: you do not want to end the Fed in the way and give the power to the executive branch of the federal government. Huge mistake, and I'm telling you, going on the record, if the Don wants to do that, I would be opposed to that. How about that? We're on the same page on that.
We're agreeing.
I want to
I will also go out and say he also promised that all the McDonald's ice cream machines will be fixed, and I'm excited for that. So
he's going to do that about as fast as he gets Mexico to pay for the wall.
Well, he said he wants, as of Monday, he indicated a policy announcement in North Carolina where he said he's gonna have all of the Mexican imports be taxed at 25%, 50%, 75%, even 100% is what he said.
Tariffs?
Yeah.
There are pros and cons of tariffs. You want to talk about tariffs?
Well, remember Mexico is, I believe it was our number one trade partner. And that was news to me. I thought it was China, but we'll say it's definitely in the top 3, right? It's reasonable to say that. So if we're going to tax
we're friends with Mexico.
Yeah.
They're our friends to the south. Yeah, if we're talking about tariffs, I love this topic because tariffs are such an incredible weapon. It's such a huge tool and can be used in the wrong way very quickly, especially if you start using Mexico in the conversation for tariffs. Can I give you my opinion on the bad thing about tariffs?
Sure.
And we can steel man tariffs real quick. We don't want to spend too much time on this because I'm going to ask you why Kamala lost the election.
Oh, okay.
So let that question marinate in the back of your head, because this is where I'm driving, is why did Kamala lose the election? And I think we can get some good stuff out of this, because I almost thought about talking to you earlier today, or even last week, or the next week, but we're knocking out right here on tariffs. Tariffs are bad because tariffs are taxes, and taxes are generally bad, but useful in many, many different ways. A tariff can be very bad when you are passing the costs onto the consumer. And so, for example, let's say I'm a big fan of putting tariffs on German cars.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of that. I'm less likely to be okay with hurting our neighbors to the south and hurting Mexico. I'm less excited about that. But if Trump says that he wants people to drive less Porsches, less BMWs, less Volkswagens, less Audis, the Germans make really nice cars. They break a lot and they're expensive, but they're different. When you're driving a Ford or you're driving a Porsche, totally different feel. Like when you're driving, or a BMW, the ultimate driving machine. When you're driving a BMW, there's something in the steering. There's something in the transmission. It's a beautiful thing. You ever driven a German car?
Yeah, I currently drive a German car.
What is it?
I drove Volkswagen.
Volkswagen.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the people's car.
Yes.
I think
it's a shady history there, huh?
Shady history, but shame on you for driving a Volkswagen, dude. Knowing what we know about Nazis. Okay, so I will tell you.
We'll get to Nazis again, I'm sure.
We'll get to Nazis. Look who just got elected. We have to talk about Nazis.
That was your words, not mine.
Yeah, because I don't think Trump's a Nazi. So, but tariffs, if Trump were to bring in, let's say a 20-25% tariff for German cars, that is going to make all the people that can afford German cars, congratulations.
Oh, me.
Congratulations that you can afford a German car. I currently have to drive American. Okay. You can feel sorry for me later. But if you want to use that tool to hurt the other economy for a negotiation tactic to improve long-term relations and bring the jobs back to the United States, the person who's going to pay the price on that is the American consumer. Do you agree?
Not necessarily, because I don't know. My cousin who lives in the United States and works in the United States works for a German car company. So even though I'm from Michigan and a lot of my friends still work for quote unquote like big three, which 2 of the 3 of them I guess are still American. We'll let Stellantis not count towards that, but you know, a lot of their stuff is based in the Metro Detroit area. Like I would just say that like we are in a intertwined global economy, and I think you have to take a step back and say, are you the type of person that prefers a free market, or are you type of person that does not want a free market?
That is well said.
And I think currently the president-elect is saying, I do not want a free market, which is a turn from traditional quote unquote like republicanism.
Touche. Absolutely. And the libertarian in me wants to give you the biggest hug because you're like playing right into like, exactly. You are absolutely correct. That was very astute of you. It's a super intelligent question.
Yeah.
This is why you're on Frankie Say. Who else was going to ask that question? Nobody, except for maybe Jason McCoy. No, right. I mean, tariffs are not free market friendly. And if you say you're for free markets, then how can you be for tariffs? I'm not for tariffs. I'm not. I'm just saying it is a last resort when you are like for China. Let's go to China now. Because I already admitted to you that I really don't want to like hurt the Mexicans. I really don't want to hurt the Germans. I'm okay hurting the CCP. Okay. I'm okay with that. I really am. I'm really okay. If you want to side with those commies, you can. But I'm saying that like if you want to put like any kind of like percentage tariff on Chinese goods, not necessarily Taiwanese goods, but because I mean I'm scared to death that Xi is going to invade Taiwan any minute now. But maybe he won't because Trump is president. Maybe he won't. We don't know. But thank you for bringing up tariffs. Can we talk about the question that I was having you marinate on?
Okay.
And that question is, why did the cop from California lose last night?
Oh, why did Kamala Harris lose?
It's Kamala.
Okay.
No offense. She's
right.
Kamala. No, like all the lefties get pissed if you say Kamala. They get super mad. It's Kamala. And like, you're not racist, but just be careful because you're moving into like racy territory.
Okay. Well, I will not question her blackness, nor will I question her South or Central Asian heritage.
And don't question what's between her legs. Don't question like the melanin skin, like the melanin levels and what she's packing in between her. Don't question those things because there's a lot of people today that do you know how many people took sick days today because of this loss?
Okay.
No people you and I know. Took sick days. They didn't come into work.
Why do you suppose that is?
Because they're devastated. What? The whole world has come crashing down on these people.
Why would someone be upset after a political election?
It's like this. It's like I had a contractor recently, and if he's listening, I love you, Adam. and I'm not giving you crap, Adam. I already dealt with you on this. I'm okay with you not working because it was your dog's birthday. I'm okay with that. But what I'm saying is I had a cat die one time, and I called up my boss after 15 years. I bottle fed the cat. I'm a big animal lover. Okay? My cat died in my arms. Stroked out in front of me, and I had to race to Klingel and put the cat down. I was crying the whole time. I didn't wear my seatbelt. I was driving 95 miles an hour down Broadway. I was pretty sure that if the cops were coming out to me, I don't care because my cat's stroking out in my lap.
Yeah.
Okay? I did not go back to work that day over a cat.
Yeah.
Some people won't go to work on their dog's birthday. You insert a massive political election where people, this is very important crap we're talking about. This is like huge. This is like our lives. And that's the reason why. It's far more important than a dog's birthday. The result of this election.
Like what's something that might impact someone? That
you want to talk about abortion so bad. I know you do.
Hey, I'm asking you.
So you do you see on okay. So do you hear about these people that are saying like, oh, this is before the election, right? But before the election, a lot of people are saying like, local politics is a lot more important than the president of the United States. It doesn't matter who's president because, it doesn't really affect my quality of life. And I say to that, bull crap. You weren't alive during the Depression when FDR put out the New Deal. You weren't alive in the 60s when LBJ put out his details on the Great Society. These people weren't alive when, just when Harry S. Truman dropped the bomb. Mm-hmm. Like that altered humanity forever. Mm-hmm. The president of the United States, the leader of the free world, whoever the president is, has enormous impact on our day-to-day lives. Enormous.
Yeah.
You take a look, and everything always goes right back into abortion, Roe v. Wade, and like, oh my gosh, like what am I supposed to tell my daughters now? So my daughters, how am I going to raise my daughters if they can't get abortions? It is a very big, I'm not discounting how big of a deal it is that people are so devastated by this. Because look what happened when Trump lost in 2020. People were so devastated about it that they went to go like do some business to the Capitol. It's pretty serious. That's how serious it is.
Yeah, might makes right is what the that mentality is, and that's anti-democratic, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's all about like, is it okay? Like if you're being ruled by a king, is it okay that you dump tea in the harbor? Well, no, it's not. You shouldn't do that. You got to bend the knee and pay the tax. And it's like, if you are pretty darn sure that in your heart that your rightful candidate didn't win, are you allowed to like break windows and carry zip ties and cause a ruckus in the Capitol? Well, that's illegal. It is. It's fully illegal. But whether or not we're gonna what was done to Trump in relationship to J6 and all these things, that's another debate. But to answer your question, answer my question. No, yeah. You asked a question. Why? It's a big deal. No, so the question to me is like, why is it such a big deal? Like, how would it affect? Like, what's your question? Because my question is,
why did Kamala
lose?
Yeah. I think she lost. I think based on a lot of like the exit numbers, it shows that that I believe to be a Democratic nominee in the last probably 20 years. In order to win an election, you have to win large with certain groups of folks, and she did not win large with certain groups of folks, whether that be young folks, whether that be the Black community, whether that be the Hispanic community, and really the biggest group that she lost was men. Is that there was the gender divide on that vote was probably the greatest that it's ever been in the history. Which is wild, right? And I think that
I think what you just said is right. I would push back on the perspective of it.
Mm-hmm.
So men have always been voting for either one of the candidates for the past like couple hundred years. They do it every single election. Mm-hmm. All the men, they always vote for one of the two. Okay, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, for this election, not a lot of men voted for the woman. It's like, hold on a second. I'm going to put a twist on this. You know what it really is? It's really the women voting for their own gender, more so than the men necessarily. The men have been voting for the Democrats and the Republicans for centuries. About two centuries. But yeah, to your point, there's this massive, what you're saying is right. There's gender segregation. There's this split between men and women. So the men are thinking, I'm looking at foreign policy and I'm looking at the people in the Middle East and they don't respect women. I really, really need to have a commander in chief that I think that the people in the Middle East are so bad. They make such bad decisions and they're so misogynistic and so sexist that I can't afford to put a woman in there because they're just going to get steamrolled by these other men in these, these countries in the Middle East.
Wouldn't that be underestimating her?
Sure. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the reason is, what your reason is for my reason is of what they're doing. I'm saying we're going down a circle.
See, I think if you have the fundamental view that she's not able to be president because she's a woman, I think that if other countries are underestimating her, it's a bad move. And that I thought that she was qualified to be the president, right? I think the qualifications to be president there's a short list, but then you expand that list from a political standpoint, and she was a senator and she was a vice president. So Okay. And this is the same thing with Donald Trump. It's like he was former president. Technically, that makes him, I guess he's done the job before, right?
I guess.
I guess, right?
I don't know. We don't know.
But I would say that, like, I think that men have struggled, and there's men have struggled over the last 20 to 30 years. And I think
struggled with what?
I think their role in society. I think that men have struggled. Like, I mean, if you look at like the suicide rates, men outnumber women significantly. If you look at the high school graduation rates, a man is far less likely to graduate from high school than a woman is. And that crosses not just like gender divide, but it's also like racial divides as well. And this is not to say like, woe is men, like men have issues, but like, I think for a very long time we have viewed men and almost only valued their contributions to society based on their labor and what they're able to produce, right?
Yeah.
And I think that the National Association of Realtors came out with data on Monday that said what is the average? I'll let you take a guess. You are in somewhat real estate adjacent activities.
Yeah.
What is the average age of a home? Of the people that buy homes in the United States in 2023?
Oh, goodness. So I don't know this answer.
Yeah, that's okay.
I don't know the answer. I'm glad that you do.
It's important to like.
If Aspen Gengenbacher was here,
she was only here.
This. Aspen, get up off the couch. Come help us.
Take a guess, though.
By the way, she's not on the couch. She's working. I'm making bad jokes. I'm going to go with, the average age of someone buying a house. Mm-hmm. Late 30s?
Yeah, that's the norm. So great answer.
But now it's been pushed way back, right?
It is, as of like this last year, it's 56.
Oh my gosh.
And it was a 7-year
mortgage.
No. For the people buying the house.
No, I'm saying they're in.
It doesn't matter what the mortgage is. Right? It's what is the age of the person buying the house?
No, right. I'm saying, but like, imagine like how terrible it would be for like a 50-some person to put a 30-year mortgage where they're never going to own the home. It's a bad situation, right?
Let me continue. So like, that's a 7-year jump over the previous, which was 49, which was also a record high.
Wow.
And I think at this point, young people have been priced out of even buying homes anymore. So I think society is looking at men and saying, what can you produce? And it's like they can't really afford their own home if you are under the age of 40. I mean, there are exceptions to this, but like,
I think you're right.
As a mass of society, that's a general truth. I think if you look at the average price of a home, and you look at the average wages of society, the average price of a home is over $350,000, and the average salary is roughly
$67,000,
right? So if you take like, hey, the salary should be, the home price should be 2.5 to 3 times your salary. What that says is, it's 2 incomes that are buying houses.
Yes.
Right? So
I think you're definitely onto something. I take a look at all the sitcoms over the past like 20, 30 years, and all the men are the doofuses. This is how people write the characters. Mm-hmm. They do this. Like, I mean, men have been, now here comes your Kamala cackle. Men have been oppressed over the past 20, 30 years to the point where the gender that is succeeding the most in college, there are more female college graduates coming out of college every single year. Women have been elevated past the point of equal outcomes to like really like kind of like mephitic levels where now it's not an equal playing field at all anymore. Mm-hmm. Like women have surpassed men. So I do agree with you.
Yeah, and I believe the solution is to lift men up. If you look at,
I like that.
If you look at like Title IX, for example, I think that in time was looking at and saying, hey, men are participating in college more than women. In order for women to be successful, you have to offer incentives for that. So there was equality that was created at that time. Now, fast forward 40 to 50 years, there's again the inequality is greater imbalance from what it was before. So in terms of like, hey, women were slightly below men, and now men are greatly below women today. So I think that there needs to be opportunities for men to succeed and I think that men are lost and they're looking and they're attaching themselves to potential causes, whether those be political causes that they get reaffirmed for who they are.
Back to Kamala. Back to Kamala.
All right.
I like what you're saying. I like what you're saying. Men just need to. We're gonna have to do another pod about what an individual man can do to get himself to lift himself up, and then when society tells him that he's not doing the right thing, or society tells him that he's engaging in toxic masculinity, pour yourself some of that. What about that other one?
Okay.
You should pour that other one because I want to watch you drink it.
Okay.
Which one is that?
This is called Woodford Double Oaked.
Oh, jeez.
So this is a little bit lighter, but it's very sweet. It's quote unquote vanilla bomb.
Oh, well, you should have given that one to me first.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no. So, yeah, I like what you're saying. Kamala Harris, she lost. And we were starting to go down the path of, okay, so more women voted for Kamala and more men voted for Trump. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you got the divide. I understand this. But, you said, people tend to this is something that has struck me more and more like lately. When Mao Zedong, a long time ago, killed all those people, he wasn't killing Mexicans. Like the Chinese, Mao was killing people that look like him. I mean, when you're taking a look at Maduro or Castro, people will think that, oh, this person's black. If I vote for this person has my best interest. No, they don't most of the time. There are exceptions, but no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's a lie. One of the reasons why Kamala lost is because, well, take a look at the facts. More black men. Trump got more black men than last time. More Latinos. More it is counterintuitive. People are on Twitter, X, Facebook, social media. They're talking. It's in the news. All these MSM and legacy networks and independent networks are saying, I don't understand. It's a head scratcher. I don't understand. How can America be so dumb? You're voting against your own interests. Guess what? None of those people who voted for Trump voted against their own interests. They don't. That is a condescending, and you're not saying that. You're being very nice. It's a very condescending thing to say, how dumb are these people that voted for Trump? They're so dumb, they voted against their own interests. No, they did not. Every black man and every black woman and every Latino, every Latina, all of these people, and gay, women, abortion people, everybody takes a look at the two candidates and they make their own decision what's best for them and best for their family. So now the Democrats have to figure out, here's a head scratcher. And the poor Dems can't figure this out. Why did our candidate lose? Why? It's such a, like I said, what do you think about this? Because this is a big thing. Forget that Trump, the last time I checked last night, Trump won the county that Tim Walz is from in Minnesota.
Yeah. He came from a Republican county. And
Trump won whatever. Trump won. Tim Walz wasn't popular enough. Tim Walz wasn't a good enough candidate to win his own county where he was from. It wasn't enough. It's because you know why? All those people from Tim Walz's county, they took a look at Trump, they took a look at Walz, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to vote in my best interest. and this is a very scary thing for Dems because they don't understand. They don't understand this. What say you?
I think so. I liked Tim Walz, and I would say that because I always look for folks that are slightly different in the political arena. And if I were just let's say you
like him as a person, or you like him to be vice president.
Really, I'm looking at three different things. I look for folks that are currently or didn't come from 1, lawyers, 2, real estate folks, or 3, retirees. and if you just take those out of the equation, that's who are the politicians that I'm looking for. And I think that
lawyers,
real estate folks, and retirees.
Yeah.
And whether it's national, local, state level.
Obama was a lawyer.
He did go to law school. That is correct.
Oh, okay. So he didn't pass the bar or anything?
I don't know.
He taught constitutional law.
Yeah, he did teach constitutional law. I do know that.
So you don't like attorneys. Okay, so Kamala's out.
Oh, yeah, that's correct.
Ouch. Okay, don't tell me who your write-in candidate was, because it's none of my business. David Daniels.
I voted for one successful candidate for president.
Really?
Yeah. I've lost every other.
Okay, I'm not going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
I'm not going to put you on the spot about who you voted for, because it's not fair. Because it will tarnish your reputation.
Okay. I voted for both Democrats and Republicans, and even a Libertarian.
Attaboy. Did you vote for the Libertarian
2016.
candidate? For 2016, was that
Gary Johnson?
Gary Johnson?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he didn't know where Aleppo was. What an idiot. But so Kamala, we got to talk about now, Kamala lost, and we're talking about why she lost. Can I give you just like a quick synopsis of my opinion? And I want you to push back. Smack me around if I say something stupid. Listen.
I want to let you speak. I'm not going to smack you around. I promise.
Kick me under the table. Very few of my guests kick me under the table now.
Oh.
Well, because I have barbed wire. Do you see? This is an electrical fence.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah. I'm afraid you'd think I'd be playing footsie with you. I don't know.
Oh, man. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that. You'd wait till we were off camera. So 4 years ago, Kamala Harris ran for president. And here's how bad she was. Here, you ready for this? This is one thing that drives me crazy, but like how short people's attention spans are and how short people's memories are. She was so bad that she couldn't make it to Iowa in the primaries. Never got a primary vote. Couldn't make it to Iowa. Got demolished because she opened her mouth and told people what she thought. She's the cop, the attorney general from California. She was a senator. She did all of these really, really bad things. And people in her own party called her on the carpet, and then she folded. She's like, crap. She didn't say she's right. Tulsi Gabbard destroyed her in the primary. Destroyed her to the point where Kamala couldn't make it to Iowa. You know who did better than Kamala Harris in the primary when she ran for president? Pete Buttigieg.
Mm-hmm.
The little 5'0" from Indianapolis. That guy.
From South Bend. Yeah,
he was the mayor of South Bend.
He was the mayor, and he was
not Indianapolis.
He was also he's a veteran.
So what? Thank you for your service.
He's not 5'0".
Thank you for your service, Buttigieg. And thank you. Yeah, I'm not impressed with Pete Buttigieg.
Okay.
She couldn't beat him. He came out on top. He kicked her butt. The point is this. Everybody says that the other candidate is a terrible candidate. So the Dems say that Trump is a terrible candidate. He has felonies on his record. The Republicans say that Kamala's a bad candidate. Oh, she's stupid. She's vapid. But I will tell you, it is so terrible about her situation and that the fact that she was put in that situation to run for president. And when you say that she was qualified, she's constitutionally qualified. On paper, she's qualified. But a really good president has to be a very strong commander-in-chief. And I don't know if she would be the best commander-in-chief.
Well, there's really three roles of the president, right? You're just talking commander-in-chief. That's just one, right? You've got
we secure the borders.
Commander-in-chief. You've got head of state, and you got chief executive. Right?
Yeah, and when you break those down, you got to be able to you have to be able to stand up in front of a group of people and speak well.
Other countries split those off, right? The Queen or the King of England is the head of state of England, but then you've got the Prime Minister who becomes the the chief executive.
Absolutely. She was not able. She was not able to tell the American people what she was about. She was not allowed to do it. And even if she was allowed to do it, I'm saying she wasn't allowed. Okay. I think her handlers said, don't do what you did the last time and tell people what you think. Don't do that. Stop with forcing businesses to like get the shot if they've got like, don't put government requirements on people if you have 100 employees or more to get the COVID shot. Stop with that. You got obliterated. So stop telling people what you think. So even if someone says, no, they didn't tell her that. Okay, well, she didn't. She never told us what she really thought anymore. She only tried to side with Biden, but also kind of push away from Biden. But she was just an empty suit. The poor woman, she had virtually no chance to win this election.
Oh, I thought she released some pretty decent like economic plans. Like we talked about housing earlier. She had the first home buyer credit that
all of her legislative plans and all of her plans were about spending more money. She was taking money from other places and saying, I will take this money and raise taxes. She wanted to raise taxes and then spend. This is what she wanted to do. She went to tax and spend, tax and spend.
Well, hold up. The tax credit to small businesses would have just been a tax break. That would not have been a spending.
A tax credit to businesses? She wanted to raise the corporate tax.
Yeah, she wanted to raise the corporate tax. But for small businesses, the plan was to enable in like the first year for you to have kind of like a wide berth in order for you to have success in this at your startup.
Yeah. And then
which is get people
and
going.
Then hit you on the back end and raise the corporate tax. What she was doing was she was giving you something on the front end and taking it away on the back end. And people, why are you laughing?
Because at the end
as
of the day,
a business owner,
you got to get people going.
And then you take it right back from them at the end where you raise up the taxes. Listen, as a business person, I'm telling you, like, listen, everything you're saying is right. But I'm just telling you, like, the other part of it is when you're a business owner, you think, oh my gosh, she really wants to like help these people, and then she wants to raise the taxes. All of her legislative ideas, she would say things like, I want to give you a first-time home buyer's credit of $25,000. I want to give you this money. Give all the money away. Raise taxes and then give the money away. Tax and spend. Print dollars. That is a disaster, and you cannot win in this environment.
So would you approve of any redistribution of wealth?
Like what?
The answer is any.
Depends what it is.
Okay.
I mean, give me...
What's your criterion?
So I think redistribution of wealth has been going on in this country since 1913 with the advent... By the way, you got to let me try that.
Finish that up.
Okay. In 1913, the feds added an amendment to the Constitution which allowed for an income tax.
Income tax, yep.
And the very first income tax was...
on the super rich.
Yeah, look what happened. Look what happened to the poor. It trickled all the way down. So this is what happens with the feds. And tell me where I'm going wrong, because I just want to ask McGengenbacher to come back so she can fact check me on this. 1913, the feds added an amendment, and generally the tax brackets, we're talking about marginal tax brackets, right?
Of course.
And 1%, 3%, 6%. By the 1940s, the top marginal tax rate went from 6% to 90%.
What was happening in the early 40s?
World War II.
Oh, okay. So how are we going to pay for that?
Tax spend, drop bombs, kill people, print, tax, kill. That's how you do it. You kill,
the
you
Nazis.
bloody, you chop everybody's heads off, you drop bombs, you print money, and you tax everybody and take all their damn wealth away from them. That's how you fight a war. Wars are not good. You don't want to go into war. Wars are very bad. You want to avoid war at all costs. So what happened was, now the poor are paying taxes. Now the middle class are paying taxes. A typical middle class person will pay somewhere between 30 and 40% taxes.
That's not true.
It is true.
Well, it depends. I guess you're adding up all of the taxes.
Why would I add up all the taxes?
What
a weird thing for me to add up all the taxes. I didn't say they only pay in income taxes. I'm saying the typical middle class person.
But there's some choices that you can make in order to lower your taxes.
So of course there is. But what I'm saying is, if you want to utilize the full American dream and you want the full power of the American economy, like for example, if you want to buy a home, it's like, well, I don't want to pay property taxes, so I'm going to rent. Okay, well, so then you're going to pay somebody else's property taxes. You cannot escape the tax system in all you can do is dodge and move and be very nimble and like work your way around. It's like one of the reasons why Donald Trump got elected the first time was when Hillary Clinton said, well, he's using all the tax deductions and he's using the tax code. And Donald Trump goes, yeah, and that makes me smart. Yeah, I'm using the same, I'm doing the same thing that your donors are doing. But we got to get back, David, to me drinking this Woodford Reserve. And you explain to me, can we switch the conversation to, can you steel man for me some of the good things that can happen with a Trump presidency? And you don't have to start with Bitcoin rallying like a mofo.
Yeah. So like
steel man for me, something. You're making jokes about McDonald's cones. Steel man. By the way, and we'll be done after this. I want you to steel man. One thing a good thing that Trump can do for the country. One thing. This is a very hard question.
One nominal thing I think will definitely happen is probably the price of gas will go down. Right now, I work in Missouri, so it's $2.50 a gallon. So $2.50 a gallon. I think it might drop a little before because I think he's going to try to drill, baby, drill.
You think that's a good thing?
It's a mix. There's positive and negative.
How much oil does America have?
According to Donald Trump, we have more than any other country in the world.
Is that true?
Yes, but no. I believe that there's a lot of people that are not having a good day today. And I think that I am sitting here, I should say, and like I don't have a lot of threats to my life. I am privileged in the sense of no one's taxing me with threats or are angry at me or, I don't have any. No one's going to be honking their horns at me or anything like that. And I think that there's a lot of folks that will be for the next foreseeable future. And I'm concerned for them. I have empathy for them. I think that if you look at a recent event in Quincy at like the Pride in the Park, and there was a group of people that came down and intentionally, deliberately interrupted that. And it's like no one's hurting you down at the park or whatever.
No, they just didn't. They're trying to get the kids out of there. They're doing everything they can to save the kids.
And I think that the kids, though, like the kids were not being harmed.
Oh, you don't want kids, but you just don't want the kids to see. And you don't want to confuse kids.
And I think like do you have any LGBT friends?
Yeah, a ton, and not token gay friends. So. When you say LGBT,
why do you suppose they are scared today? Potentially scared today?
Because, to be honest with you, they saw the machine step in and swoop in. Which, by the way, I asked you what one thing and you talk about like oil gases are going to go down, and so now we're talking about the LGBTQ thing. I will tell you this right now. You're not gonna get rid of the gay marriage stuff. There's not going to be any legislation that is going to. There are no laws that are hurting the queer community that I can think of that are demonstrative and substantial. There are no direct laws, and really no indirect laws that are like harming the queer community. Mm-hmm. I don't believe for one second that your average queer person. Queer is a very that's the best way to say LGBTQIAPPPSQST whatever it is. Which is better to say queer. Their fears are unfounded. Any fears that the LGBT community has is unfounded. Trump is not going to be able to do anything, nor does he want to do anything. They're unfounded. I would challenge anybody to say, here's what Trump is going to do to make things very, very hard on the queer community.
I think that was what the argument was when he appointed 3 different justices to the Supreme Court that said they weren't going to touch Roe v. Wade, that it was settled law, and it was ended up. And then people were saying, "Oh, the left is complaining, and they're just barking up they're barking up a tree that doesn't exist." And I think that when that got overturned in that decision, they said, "Hey, we might also have to look at, Obergefellner. I forgot it's the gay marriage decision. And I think that
Obergefellner.
And I believe that we today might not be a problem. And you and me, it's probably not going to affect our lives.
It will. Sure. All of these things affect our lives.
But I think
all of these things do.
But not directly. And I think there's a lot of people out there that it might directly impact their lives.
No, all of these things directly affect.
And I'm scared for them. And like, I want to protect that. Like, I want them to feel okay. I think that if I take a step back and I say like,
what do you think specifically Trump is going to do to hurt the LGBTQ
I don't know yet.
community?
I think that he a lot of his
it's a shadowy phantom fear that is not founded.
That the shadowy phantom fear goes away even locally when people are driving down the streets and honking at the community.
Because of the kids.
I've been at an activity that there weren't any kids and people were yelling and screaming obscenities and throwing stuff at. I've seen
that's rude.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's scary.
If there are no kids there, if you got the trans community, this is my own personal opinion, that does not reflect Muddy River or any of our organizations. If you've got the queer community there, just living as free people in a park with no kids, and it's an adult, like kind of an 18 and older kind of situation, any of those Trumpers that are driving around, like honking their horns, interrupting their ensemble in Washington Park, I truly believe that is crappy, terrible. Quit doing that. There's no kids in that park. Leave them alone. Let live, and let them do what they want.
If it's in the park, it's not necessarily 18 plus.
No, what I'm telling you is the reason why those people are like, to your point, if you invite kids and you target children, targeting is a big thing. If you target children in any way and you get a whiff of it, if anybody gets a whiff that target is a children is targeted
for what?
Attendance. So invitations.
Do queer children exist under the age of 18?
I will tell you.
Do you believe they exist?
Yeah, for sure.
Then should there be an opportunity that they are able to belong in a community that would be affirming for them?
Yeah, but...
And if it's in a park and there's not any nudity or explicit sexual activity...
I will just say this. I generally don't think... No, I'm going to say no. You put me on the spot, I'm going to say no. I'm going to go ahead and say if you want to give a child a chance to make their own, figure themselves out, and this is... Now we're getting into we're getting way out of here. I'm going to say this. I'll just go ahead and make a blanket statement. I think for all of the super sex-based stuff, where you're like taking men, dressing them up, I don't think. How about this? I don't think a queer child should take a dollar bill and slip it and start tipping a man dressed up as a woman. That should not be encouraged. No, it should not be. Nope, done. And you know what? All of those
even at like a restaurant.
Like, because they're the server?
Mm-hmm.
That's fine.
Like, I think it depends on what the activity is.
We're going in the weeds with the trans stuff. How about this? Let's do this. We are past the time. We're past our time. I appreciate you. Here's where I want to end, to be fair to you.
Okay.
To be fair to you, I want to end where you were talking about how your compassion and your sympathy for those who feel marginalized and those who feel scared. We should be nice to them and respectful to them. And I really do believe that.
Yeah, and I take a step back and I try to have some perspective historically. And I always ask folks, I say, I ask you, the folks at home, and say, who are the 3 worst presidents in the history of the United States? And typically there's 2 different kinds of responses. One response is I get a partisan response, and either it comes from one of 2 phases. They either say it's Trump, Bush, or Reagan, or you get it's Biden, Obama, or Clinton, right? There's really those
That's
are the
ridiculous because if you don't put Woodrow Wilson in there, then
okay.
Totally don't know
so
what's going
there's
on.
the partisan response, and to that I say, hey, if you are lucky enough to live in this country, and you've seen the 3 worst people to do it in the 47 people that have ever done it, I said that's statistically crazy, and I said it might be okay. And then I say, all right, now. You say Woodrow Wilson, someone else might say James Buchanan, someone else might say whomever, right?
Van Buren, Garfield,
and then I'd stop and I'd say, okay, what impact has Woodrow Wilson had on your life today in 2024? And frequently the response is, well, it's probably been a while. Like it's okay. We were able to recover as a country based on how bad he was. So no matter what the response is, I encourage everyone to take back and say, hey, our country is greater than one person who is the current president. And our country will persist past whoever that one person is. And I have confidence that we may look back and say, hey, I didn't like that, or I really loved that, or whatever. But I have confidence that in 25 years, we will be in a better place as a country because I have confidence in America and I love this country. And even though I might not agree with the current president and their principles and what they stand on and whether they may or no, he has explicitly violated many, many sexual abuse laws. And I'll give you like 2 different quotes from presidents I really like. One is like, a house divided will not stand, right? And that's Abraham Lincoln. The other one is, I've known Jeff for 14 years, terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. He even said he likes beautiful women as much as I do. And many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it, Jeffrey enjoys his social life. That's Jeffrey Epstein, by the way, speaking of that guy. So we have 2 different quotes there, and I think that that's all the reflection I need of who someone is as a human being. That's all I got.
David Samuels, everybody. Cheers. Thank you for bringing the Jack and the Woodford Reserve. I like this one better. I think you're an amazing guest. You're turning into a very good friend of mine. Love you a lot. See you soon.